Hello there everyone, this is Iron Mark 3 and welcome back to Cosmoteer. Yes, I'm going to be starting off with I think a double apology, because quite honestly there has been a couple of thingies. First off, this video is like a slot late, so there was meant to be one a couple of days ago, but I didn't manage to, so sorry about that. And I'm also sorry for not... oh, excuse me, my throat's all clogged up. I'm sorry for not responding directly to anyone on the last part that went out as well. That was kind of broke with what I've been doing with this entire thing so far. I think get rid of those standard thrusters too. But they're both for the same reason, which is last week was extremely bumpy for me. Still is going on kind of that way, to be honest. And so I just wasn't in any shape to really do anything. I completely forgot that I hadn't actually replied to people on that part, and I wasn't up to doing any kind of recording for the last half week or so, so mine apologies. I'm just doing that, by the way, to get my FTL rating up a bit, because it was low 80s, now it's high 90s with that extra one. I thought I could get away without it, but I decided to put it in. But yeah, I'm trying to get back on track and consistent, quote unquote consistent me. I don't know what I've been smoking, but hey. Someday I'll be consistent, maybe. I might as well put that too. Yeah, so apologies for those. But for now, let us dive back into the action. I said that this time I will be going in on higher difficulty, and that is my plan. So I'm just doing some refit work first, and then I'll be getting to comments, which also includes some good refit points. So I'll be acting on that too. And yeah, by the way, someone did point out that those fire extinguishers I just deleted, and oh, that's one those as well. Whoops, they had no doors accessing them. I guess I'm too used to having doors automatically in place, so I kind of forgot that they weren't. I don't know. But yeah, there's some good refit points, which I'll be trying to take advantage of a bit, I think, as this goes on. I'll put that there. And then just connect it straight to there. And I think I'll just add in a new fire extinguisher as soon as I remember where they are. Oh, were they? No, yeah, defense. Right. I'll just put that in next to that. And, of course, doors for everybody. So there we go. Just moving and adjusting anti-missile, because high difficulty means we're more likely to find missiles, I think. So it seemed like a good idea at the time. Actually, that's a good way of viewing this entire ship. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I am Mark III, expert ship designer. Yes. Anyway, moving on to the comments. One Eye was up first. Also, thank you, One Eye, for linking me to the ship database. I've not said much there, but I have had a look through, and I've been having a very fun time just seeing what everyone's coming up with and looking at the meta and all that stuff. Honestly, it's a bit too precise for my kind of style of play, but some of the ship's designs in there are very, very nice. And thank you so much for pointing me in that direction. I do appreciate it. Now, you said at 1754, as you said before, thrusters actually don't need doors if they're connected to engine rooms. That is true. You did say that. If you don't use doors, then you could probably have kept quite a few more crew. This is a very strong point, because partway through last episode I was dumping crew because I didn't quite have enough money. Though honestly, I did kind of forget that I could remove those doors, but I did want those doors in there just so that I could have access for fire extinguishing, which I think was something you also mentioned actually back in that previous comment. So I do have a reason to have those doors. It's just that I didn't think to get rid of them rather than getting rid of crew. Luckily, my ship was overcrewed at the time in the areas in question, so it's not really affected it too much though. Right now my crew is actually a bit down, so I do need to put more crew into this thing. More sardines to go into the sardine can. That's the ticket. Right, at 20. Well, I did need more FTL efficiency. I could have tried selling some armor or crew to buy FTL fuel for the jump, and then bought drives with the money you made in the system. You were right to downsize the large reactor, though. To be honest, the large reactor downsizing was entirely because I didn't have enough funds to readily afford the huge reactor. So that was, sorry, the medium reactor rather than large reactor. So that was actually a necessity. I actually wanted a large reactor there. So that one will be feeding the ion drives, which ion drives, ion cannons, which is something you mentioned in a few moments. But yeah, it kind of worked out, I guess. I just want to make sure I've got all this copied before I go ahead and delete the entire thing. Oh no, I'm Mark 3, you stripped out the new ion cannon system. What are you doing? Don't worry, I'm modifying it based on suggestions. So yes, I think I put it there actually, like one block away, so there's still a free access route around the reactor, but it's going to be right up to the against the top reactor now. Okay, third one is about my suggestions at the end of last time. The splitter has apparently been suggested before, but Walt doesn't think there's a use for it, since you can just read out uncombined beams if you want multiple weaker ones instead of more powerful ones. The reason for my suggestion was like having A, something that's automated, so it's like a quality of life thing, and B, something that can actually be compacted as well, rather than forcing your ship into like a larger design style that may or may not fit with what you're trying to go with for your build. So it's like it'd be like a quality of life choice kind of thing. So a combination of the two. That's kind of what I was going for there. I think I will go with yeah. You did mention somewhere that I should try maybe posting it on the forum, so I think I will try that. Is something else disconnected? Oh, I missed a piece. Yes, give it that. Okay, so that is the new ion beam assembly location. I'm going to redo the armor here because One Eye's comment goes on. As for your current ship layout, the ions are pretty far away from the nearest reactor, honestly. That is kind of true, but I was compensating for that using the conveyors. They were keeping the ion beams more or less operational, I think. Okay, just need to get you firing for a second. Oops. Oh, I forgot to link them. I'm lucky that friendly fire damage doesn't seem to be a thing on ion prisms. Okay, so that goes that way. Noted. That's all I wanted from you, so thank you. You can stop firing and I'll go back into build mode. Right. Sorry. Moving on. So yeah, I've actually just corrected that by moving it closer to reactor. Though actually one suggestion was to move the rear reactor up to closer to the ion beams because it's not really needed in its current location. That is a fair point as well. I think I will move the reactor actually. I'll move it there. I'll give it a universal access corridor around it, like so. Doors for quick access going either way. And then this will be a straight up splitting point for the conveyor lines, like so. So that's just a square letting people go to and fro. So, yep, that seems good. That still be plenty close enough to feed the engine bays, though, as I keep saying, I'm going to redesign these soon TM. At some point, maybe, possibly. I'm going to, I swear, as soon as I get around to it. Right, so that's that. And this is because of the second part of this bit, which is you might also want to move your output prism closer to the center line of your ship because the front ones will get destroyed. The backups that only fire straight will not hit most cinema ships. This is true. It's also true anyway. Moving them in a bit closer because, well, I've got this entire centerline assembly here, which I don't want to mess with because I'm happy with how it's performing so far. So, I'm just making thinking noises. I am going to install, I think the prism line will be along here now. So that we've got a layer of armor against the, protecting the channel against any impacts getting through to the shield bays and the side of it. So there is a layer of defenses. I'll tighten up the armor here a little bit, just to make sure that we aren't impacting the firing angle of the prism beams unnecessarily. So slight tightening up. I do kind of wish the prisms weren't on this square grid structure, if I'm honest, but oh well, that's just how it's designed, honestly. In fact, I might as well limit that. Now, the reason they were so far out of the way was because I kind of wanted them to be acting like a separate attack vector kind of thing. So like, if the target's like over here, then this can fire this way. So sure, I've got the rails pumping into the front there, but what if the ship's turning or rotating, as some ships are wont to do? Like some of them are just built to turn flat out. Then these beams coming in from an angle will be able to help cut through, or if it had heavy frontal armor, they could potentially bypass some of that forward armor. So that was the madness behind my method there. Let's see, it was rolling back to there. That should be good. Let's connect it up to where the previous mounting points were. And we need to delete that bit of armor there. And that bit there. There we go. Well, almost. But I do need to have of course, protect the entire thing. And I'll make a couple more connection points just to make sure that it doesn't accidentally get snapped off or something as soon as the prism goes up. Like so. That should be good. And again, in reference to another comment, I will just make sure that this thing is hooked up properly. There we go. There we go. Because another comment later mentions a few mistakes I made or seem to make and stuff like that. Anyway, moving on. Yes, that's that. Then the rest of the comment is what I said. It's like rear reactor at the very back is not being used for much more than engine blocks, too far away for power of the ions. Move it next to the ions and move the thrusters blocks up. You could probably get rid of the medium reactor entirely. In general, even though it's the grand shaft, it could be compacted quite a bit. Although you might also want to leave a section of walkway in the middle if you are planning to add in missiles. I do still plan to add missiles. Yep, that's linked up properly. Okay, I do still plan to add missiles. And your compacted ship is awesome, by the way. Very angular, very aggressive looking. I do tend to do more aggressive design styles in a lot of games, so that was very nice to see. And you did a great job compacting the ship design into something more along the lines of what I was seeing in that tournament you linked me to. So yeah, that was very nice to see what the existing systems could potentially be like. Again, though, there is like a madness to my method here, though, which is I don't have a grand plan for this ship beyond like add this, add that, bolt something else to it because it looks cool, maybe give it go faster stripes, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's an evolving design, and because of that, I want to keep like the central spine layout and plenty of space. So that's why it's so long, really. So I can just adapt it as I try to bolt in each new quote-unquote improvement. Quote-unquote improvement. Some of them probably are improvements, but some of them probably are not. So, you know, it depends, doesn't it? Let's put that one there as well, actually. Yeah, let's do that. Just reconfiguring the armor, because one of the advantages of the previous setup was that it had those 4 shield generators actually clustered tightly around the emission point, and now it's actually got less protection than it did before. And we did see ships directly targeting the area where the prism was. So yeah, this is actually going to be more vulnerable in this location, but it's going to be more centerline as well. So if it does get knocked out, which is more likely now, it will be easier for it to be still functional. Just repositioning, but let's put a reactor there, I guess. Move the crew quarters. Move the crew quarters. Move the FTL up. Actually, let's put crew quarters there. Power room can stay there. Let's move the crew quarters close to the center line. Actually, let's put them there. Yeah, let's put that there. So that'll be a temptation for ships to just go that way, but this is going to be solid armor plate. So that temptation should be nicely tempered by the fact that they have to chew through a bunch of reinforced blocks as they do so. So look at me, I'm being schmurty schmurt. Either I'm making a colossal mistake. Probably both. Especially since I actually messed up the placement again. Let's see. And then I'll spin it this way. I'll move that one, move that, put that there, put that there, put that there. All there. No, that moves some of the armor buffer though. I'll put it. Actually, let's put it there. Yeah. That looks fine. Famous last words. So yeah, as you can see, I'm converting this into more of a centralized walkway kind of thing. So I'm compacting the central reactors a little bit so it's closer towards the center mass of the ship. I'm reinforcing the armor plating in the area. And I'm considering actually adding a cannon system here just so I can say I've got literally everything and the kitchen sink bolted to the ship because, you know, it seems like a good idea. Or it seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah, that about sums it up, honestly, doesn't it? It was a good idea at the time, and then everything exploded. Yeah. That also sounds very much like my ship design philosophy, if I'm honest. But yeah, for now, let's just solid armor plate it. Though, as I said, that's probably going to house a cannon or something. And I'll rear armor plate it and then strip away some of the extra stuff at the back, because we don't quite need all that. And make sure the back is at least plated. And there we go. We have got ourselves a reworked wing section for the moment. Though I'll probably bolt some more stuff into it later. Anyway, moving on. Iconic Spartan. Nice vid. I can tell you definitely understand the game more than I do in my 2 years of playing. Anyways, I suggest if you make an S3, you should try out some of the mods. Well, thank you. Very nice to say. I appreciate that. And actually, that's something that Dama suggested, that maybe I should try a 40k mod for nice big broadside cannons for this game. And yeah, but there's definitely a temptation. Like 40k, I do like 40k. Macro cannons. Tasty things. Next comment. As I rearrange... Actually, do I want that medium reactor there anymore? There's nothing super power draining nearby, except for those, but that's okay, actually. Yeah, let's move all this stuff up. And I don't think I need that crew quarters there at the moment. So, next comment is from Razul, who kindly pointed out a bunch of things I did kind of mess up a little bit, and some stuff that he thought I missed. So, yeah, this kind of comment is good. It helps keep me honest. So, let's go. Thanks for the vid. A few quick notes that slipped by you. The left in-beam middle crystal isn't linked to the front aiming crystal. I'm sorry to say, actually it was. And I know this for a fact because the screenshot that I used as a thumbnail for that video was actually showing that left crystal you're saying wasn't linked, firing it towards the end of the video. So that's how I know that it was, because I literally actually looked at it afterwards and saw it doing that. Oh. Okay. So yeah, that's thank you for mentioning that. But I did actually link it. I was going really quick at the time, so I think you missed me doing it. There we go. And the next comment is still with Raz. None of my fire extinguishers have doors. I mentioned this earlier. It was Raz that pointed it out. Yes, the new extinguishers in the forward section didn't have any kind of doors on them at all. So that was my bad. Whoops. Luckily, it was caught before I went into actual combat, so yeah, that was definitely a thing. I guess I'm too used to having auto doors because I'm used to the fire extinguishers. Just like when you put it down, they have a door. Like I almost forgot to give these engines doors as well. Oh well. But that's actually should all actually be fully functional. As soon as I armor this up, we're actually going to spend the last third of the episode. Since again, I've somehow managed to spend like full 2/3 of the episode just like waffling on and talking. So yeah, but I do try to respond to comments. I do. Let's see. Let's put some armor plating there. There we go. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with it. Well, it's actually cheaper because I took the reactor out. How are we doing for crew? Actually, we are actually still kind of low for crew. Let's copy this arrangement a couple of times. Let's do that. So we can easily get some extra crew space in. Because I think this is a good arrangement, like a rapid egress. Let people get out of the area quickly and onto the central line. And then they come back later and they're doing good. So yeah, I think that's a nice little arrangement for crew that I've got going on there, at the very least. So I just bought that there as a temporary measure. It'll probably come back to bite me later, but I'll probably also delete it and remove it because that's where I want to put the missile bays and things. Let's just angle the armor a little bit. There we go. So, okay, we have ourselves a shippy. Whee! And this is going to fight. Next up is still Raz. And now the thing I'd love to see, missiles. Adding a couple of HR missile launchers to both sides of your neck would not only significantly increase your damage output, but also add 360 combat ability that isn't slowed down by having to wait for your entire ship to orient itself properly. That is the plan, and that was going to be added today, but I got distracted. Well, actually, I spent too long focused on other things, if I'm going to be honest, so I'm going to save that, yes. Make sure I don't lose progress here. Because we're about to go somewhere harder. What are you? You are a veteran? Veteran's what we were working on, wasn't it? Yeah, we want the third down. So Vanguard, Elite... Sorry, we were on Professional. Yeah, Veteran is the one we actually want to go to. So, ooh, 234. Ouch. 229. Have I lost FTL efficiency? I'm guessing I have. No, we're at 96%. We've got good FTL efficiency. We just don't have enough FTL fuel. Oh well, good thing we've got some money. Let's buy up... yeah. Actually, that's pretty good. 26,000 for 50 odd. That'll let me make the jump, and hopefully this will be worth it, because Professional just isn't worth it for the weight of the ship I've got now. Celery. But yeah, even this short jump like this is like... yeah, 220, 230 odd. Just not good. Okay, yeah. Continuing with Riz's comments still. Other than that, loving how things are going so far, though I cringe at how little your sides and rear are protected, but that's just me being me. That's fair, my sides and rear are very thinly protected because they're not meant to be engaged. Flat out, that's it. So yeah. P.S. It's now evolving into the War Axe. Yes, the Grand Shaft is evolving! It is turning into a War Axe. Sounds like a Steel-type Pokemon. I wonder if you need a Master Ball to catch this thing. Well, probably not. Its defense isn't too good. Sorry, my throat's clogging up again. But yeah. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, they've made Pokemon out of everything else, pretty much. Oh, that's a double contact, isn't it, that I'm heading towards? Okay. We'll see how this goes. Because our maneuvering still hasn't been improved, really. So that's one of the big things. Though our railguns are firing, so they found something. Okay, what do we got? We've got... actually, that's fine. I've faced both of these designs before. There's even someone shooting missiles at me. Okay, that got me some stuff back. Did I come to the right difficulty? Or am I just being stupid? I don't actually know, but yeah, that was it. That was quite nice. Now that said, it was 2 designs which I've faced on their own previously, so I might still be at a higher difficulty, I think. Anyway, moving on. Happy Hayfers comment is double ion cannons with aims and plenty of large cannon batteries. However, he's also already in range of my ion beam, so I think he's also backing up harder than I can catch him. Yeah, he's outside my ion range, I think. Oh no. Actually, yeah, he is kind of. Oh, I did actually lose one of my focusing crystals, so you can see what I mean about focusing it down. Knock out that cannon, will you? Or railgun straight to the power core, that works too. Fine. Yeah, that was definitely a tougher design. I got a nice chunk of FTL, so yeah, I am in the right difficulty setting. Good. One of the focusing crystals got knocked out pretty hard, but damage was limited to that area. Should probably reinforce the armor in front of that section, actually, so let's do that. That armor can be thicker behind its layer of shielding. So there is room for some improvement there. Just don't want to restrict the angle that the ion beam can angle to, because... well, as you saw when we faced the pair of ships, the ion beams quite happily just went ahead and reoriented themselves and tagged the ships really, really hard with a lot of firepower. So that's one of the reasons why I want to use the prisms up front. Get the firepower on target. Melt the infidels. I guess that'll do. Yep. Though I was actually thinking of, like, as I said, heavy cannons, or maybe even flat cannons in the front there, just for extra protective power. Anyway, sorry. Happy Hayfer. The Grand Shaft / Warhammer / Spider Thingy. How professional. Yes, I agree. I think it is now like the letter T. Is there an upper limit to how much damage a combined beam array can produce? I'm thinking of making a ship with a giant beam array setup, and now I just need to know how many firing points I need for maximum output. There is not a limit per se, but there is a rule of thumb when using combined beams. Another pair of... oh, don't recognise that one. Wait, Crucible. I might have faced that one previously, but I do kind of want to knock out that electrostat bolt cannon ASAP because it's going to burn my shields up. Yeah, as you can see, the shields got knocked out by the electro bolt, and then the prism got wiped out. What are you doing? You don't want to park there, you know. And that one's just getting electro bolted to death, so... yeah, that's 3 fights so far, and in 2 of them, one of my prisms got knocked out. Though you don't seem to be linked up properly, actually. Didn't I link you up? I thought I did. Oh well. Oh, and the other guy's coming in straight away. What the... the game's attacking me! It's the logo! No, I'm doomed! What the hell is that doing in Bounty Hunter mode? Oh dear. Sorry, right. There was another part to Happy Hafer's comment. I just can't believe what I'm fighting now. If there's no upper limit, I'll go with 1 or 2 end pieces, or 64 for 64 carefully combined arrays. Just see how fast I can meld enemies. That would be nice, Happy Hafer. The problem is that prisms actually have diminishing effect. Ooh, I should get the railgun shots. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to replace that prism, so... We'll get those last 2 letters, darn it. Oh wait, are they dead? No, they're not. Come back here! I will destroy this game. Yes! You are dead, aren't you? Think. Yeah, I think it is dead. Okay, go repair. And I'll make sure you are actually properly linked. So there we go. Maybe I should have a secondary backup crystal like here, just to make sure these things stay on target. Anyway, back to what Hafer was saying, like diminishing returns. So the rule of thumb is if you're using like 2 into 1 for merging, which is most efficient because it gets less efficient the more beams you put into it. Yeah, so 1 beam is 100%. 2 beams they lose 1/4 of the power each. 3 beams, their power's dropped to 56%. So yeah, there's diminishing effect on the beams for every beam you merge into it. So 2 to 1 is the most efficient. But even then, the ratio is for every time you double the incoming power from the ion emitters, your damage output increases by 50%. So yeah, double the power output is 50% damage gain on the final beam. So yeah, these guys would be most efficient if I just had all of these firing into like separate beams entirely. But then I'd have to make space for those beams to get out as well because of the size of the beams, the size of the crystals, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be able to actually properly work with them. So it's it becomes a complete trade-off. It's like, what do I want? Do I want more raw damage output, or do I want the convenience of having it into a smaller area? Which is kind of why I was suggesting a kind of automatic splitter kind of thing last time. So yeah, that's kind of why that was going on. And that was our combat, I'm afraid, only 1 zone, because I spent most of the episode building again. But we still have 1 more comment to go, which is from Damodoc. Damodoc says, I downloaded this not long ago and tested it with large cannon broadside, and it was a sight to behold. The cannons are spectacular, aren't they? Yes, they are. Though One Eye has responded, saying the problem with broadsiders and Cosmoteer is that they only use half their firepower at any given time, unlike real-world broadsiding. Wait, unlike real-world broadsiding? Actually, that depends on the ship, One Eye. I mean, if you're thinking like Dreadnought-style battleships, their main firepower, yeah, but that's because they're all turreted. Older, like galleon-style ships, they were doing like 50% firepower, as you said first. So it depends on the ship's style we're talking about. And then he goes on. 90% of the time, you will only be facing 1 ship, both in Bounty Hunter and in multiplayer. True so far. So half your weapons are not being used. It's just better to have all your firepower able to fire at a single target and include good rear armor and thrust to be able to deal with multiple ships if you encounter them. And unlike having, read more, weapons on opposite sides of ship, rear armor and thrust can be useful in a 1v1 as well, instead of being mostly dead weight. Now, I understand that broadsides are supposed to be able to flip from side to side to regenerate their shields, but it just doesn't work that well in practice, as the shields fail too fast, and the firepower disadvantage is just too large compared to a ship able to use all its weapons. Keep in mind, I'm assuming that the battles are fair and between 2 ships of equal cost around 1 mil credits or less. I'm sorry to say that I have to completely agree with One Eye on most of that, because One Eye is an expert in this, and a competitive player as well. So yeah, on those grounds, definitely. Side weapons, extra weapon systems, I think that's good for like multiple smaller targets. There were some cases in the tournament where I think a ship would be better served having like some extra rounded firepower, especially against those ships that detached into multiple smaller ships. There are a couple of fights that were lost because the single opponent couldn't handle it. But one nice point about the disadvantage of splitting firepower between the sides is also a very fair one. Though I will mention, though, that that is actually why I've got my electro bolts angled into the side here, like this, so they can actually fire somewhat into my forward arc to partially mitigate that. The problem is that I've just like pressed them out to the sides a long way, so they struggle really in doing that beyond like this angle here. So that's kind of their limit. But that's because like the lasers and electro bolts can actually angle past the 180 degrees. Heavy lasers too, though not quite as much. Though most of the weaponry can't. So cannons in particular, as you can see, I think they're at like maybe a 70, 80 degree arc or something like that. And then the flak batteries are like really narrow. So yeah, depends on the weapon system, but potentially you could put lasers in a side mount and still have them firing forward. Or at least the electro bolts. But that's just my observation there. I barely saw any of those weapons really in the tournament for last month. But with all that said and all that done, and some semi-drastic shifts in the ship's design, I'm afraid I'm going to have to call it there, because we are past the half hour, going on towards 40 minutes again. You guys give me too much to talk about. Not that I mind, it's actually quite good to learn about, so thank you. But yeah, this has been Iron Mark 3. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you guys are continuing to enjoy the show, and I'll catch you all some other time. Yes, indeed. See you all later. I've got to admit, these gaps in front of the shield emitters kind of bug me a bit. Mainly because you're forced to have a hole in the ship. I wish I could do something about that.